Oh, looks like we have trouble. How on earth are you gonna get that to take air? It's all about the technique. Make sure the tire's elevated and resting on the back of the rim. Lubricate the bead and the rim. Last but not least, make sure you have 4 bead bazookas. The tire gods blessed me on this one. It was pouring rain out. Thankfully, this truck jacked itself up so I didn't have to get wet. Now, as I put on the tire, I realized that it was backwards, so I had to take it back off. There's not very many drive tires that are directional, but it's a good thing I realized it. There we go, that's better. Don't forget to seat the bead with your bead bazooka. Nice. So does sealant rust out rims? Well, let's find out. So here we have a pretty old Bobcat rim. You could tell because it's actually a reverse mount, and they don't really make those anymore. And as you can see, the paint is actually shinier than it would be if it didn't have sealant. Now, does that mean that all sealant is like this? Definitely not, because some sealant doesn't have an anti-corrosive inside. Let's see what this service call has in store. Ooh, we're inside a dome. This is cool. Never a dull moment as a tire doctor. These tires are notorious for having bead leaks. It's just a crappy design by the manufacturer, but nothing a little sealant can't fix. Sadly, I couldn't get my truck in because there's actually a volleyball tournament happening on the other side. Oh boy, looks like the tire doctor had some fun today. You've never shown how you do one of these on video, have you? No, I haven't had to replace one of these in a very long time. I feel like it's a really hard job since you weigh just as much as the tire. Yeah, and it also doesn't help that there's ice under my feet. I guess if you don't have the weight, it's really important to know the technique to put these on, isn't it? Yeah, both my brothers don't really have to worry about technique, but it's really important for me because otherwise I just go flying. Now, the way I'm standing is super important because the bar could slip at any second. Just like that. You must get a really good workout out of this though. Oh yeah, it gets the heart going pretty good, but after 4 of these, you kind of get a little tired. I see your brother is also there. Yeah, I was only supposed to deliver the tires, but might as well get some content. I'm always so tempted to throw things at people's windshields. That'll teach them to move over. Definitely not putting those back on. Always gotta make sure no one's gonna hit you. I never know if today's gonna be my last breath with all these cars not moving over. The tires definitely scrap when the insides are all over the concrete. Gotta make sure to put that bounce compound in. Man, this looks a lot riskier on camera. So there is in fact another reason to use sealant in tires. Every tire guy you'll ever talk to will tell you that sealant sucks and they hate it. And then you ask yourself, what's the best way to stop your competition from servicing your customers' units? Just put sealant. Sidewalls do in fact have steel cords. This is actually how a zipper can happen because if one breaks, then the other two have double the pressure and eventually it just zip. Oh no, we got a blown tire downtown. If you've ever been downtown anywhere, you'll know there's no room to do anything, especially in the winter. He made just enough room for other cars to get by, but I'm gonna have to do this call in the snowbank. And of course, it was a 19-inch rim, so it was a reverse mount. Gotta love when snow gets in your ear. Oh yeah, and don't forget, yeah, it's slippery. Ah, that's fine. That'll hold. For some weird reason, a lot of compressor tires are actually bias when they come factory. Bias ply tires wear out a lot faster than radials when you're driving down a highway. And that's why when we put on new tires, we're putting on radials instead of the bias ply. Because these compressors are always on the road and it makes no sense to put on a tire that's gonna wear out faster. Just gotta give it a little torquey and it's good to go. You probably don't know this, but every single non-marking tire is actually wrapped in plastic. Now that's one way to kill the turtles, am I right? Oh boy, they called 2 tire guys again. I guess we're both getting paid. Definitely not mad about that, cause he's the one doing the call. Lesson 6 to become a tire guy. Bolting on and off these nuts. Over time, you'll start to build the muscles to hold this impact gun. This is not exclusive to tire guys because mechanics do this as well. And we all know the feeling that I'm doing right now. Usually by the end of the day, you're completely worn out if you're using this impact gun a lot. You, sir, make blowing tires look easy.
You're making this look easy, man. I'm gonna think that I can change my own tire now, and I really can.
Well, it definitely wasn't the easiest job to jack this thing up. It was on the ground. If there's a will, there's always gonna be a way. This part would be great for a recap. What do you think? Gotta watch those fingers. Those steel cords can go right through your gloves. Oh yeah, nice bum. Where you from? This is why tire guys always complain that their knees hurt. The Tire Doctor presents mounting the first bead. There's times when one blaster is not enough. And what do we do when that happens? We use 2 of them. 9 years ago, I was sitting in this exact same spot with the exact same haircut. What do you think? That's a nasty slice. The tire doctor enters the chat. Yeah, don't worry, I got this. I do it for a living. Well, you definitely are living, and you definitely are doing this. Wow, pointing out the obvious. You sound like my comment sections. Whoa, I wasn't ready for that one. Nothing can stop the tire doctor from getting as close as possible to the unit. Not even a low clearance underground parking garage. And definitely not really tight turns that can almost scratch the crap out of my truck. The tire doctor almost got home without getting stuck. Rain or shine, I always seem to be soaking wet after work. The doctor said I have a condition called work ethic, also known as hard work. This condition sometimes makes life a lot harder. Once you start working, it's almost impossible to stop when you have this condition. Sometimes it can actually turn into being a workaholic. Have you ever had your locks freeze up after a winter storm? Well, this is what we do. We basically just put a flap over top of it so that none of the water can get inside so it won't freeze. Might be a little niche, but being a tire guy is kind of like being in a relationship. You love it to death until the tire's in a really bad mood. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's sometimes maybe shit. But of course, like a relationship, all the hard work that you put in definitely pays off in the long run. Well, hopefully. Airing up tires is like sex. Sometimes you just have to try different positions. And as soon as the tire is in the right position, the air holds. This is how I jack up the front of a forklift tire. These are always super hard to get a jack under, especially when the tire's completely flat, so this is the easiest way we found out how to do it. This shouldn't be too hard. Oh boy. Gotta make myself a little path to the tire first. Jack time. Let's see if I can get lucky today. Nope, looks like the come-along's coming out. There we go, that bead looks much better now. Think this tire needs some milk. Perfect. All that work for just an itty-bitty little nail. Too bad it didn't have sealant in it. Because we live near Toronto and none of us can afford a house, we all live together. And being that we don't have a shop, we have to park all of our trucks in one driveway. So this is what my dad came up with. He just made a little extension here so that we could all park mirror to mirror. And also make sure there's just enough room for the Amazon drivers to get our packages to our door. Wait a second, I remember this, skid steer. I'm a working boy, and I love my job. Now what did they do? Oh boy. Wow, look at that slice. Looks like we might have scrap tire here, boys. Yep, she's a goner. Good thing I always have new skid steer tires in the back of my truck. Some people judge by the bounce of the hammer, but usually I'll judge by the sound of it. There's two kinds of sounds. There's the thud. Air. Flat. Or when it's completely flat, there's the hollow sound. If your tires have military grade sealant in them and you get a nail, here's a tip. Grab a hammer, and then all you gotta do is just tap the nail all the way in so that it doesn't leak at all. Looks like dinner's to go for the tire doctor. Well, you ran it flat, so I guess I gotta put on your spare. That was a close one. I just needed a little bit more height, but I also didn't want to blow my face off. Perfect. Now all I gotta do is a little switcheroo and a little torquey. Scrappity-doo-dah, scrappity-day. My, oh my, that's a lot of scrap tires. But it's nowhere close to a corporation. You should see the back of their yard. How to not put a patch on a tire tube. First things first, you gotta take the tube out of the tire. Next, you're gonna wanna air up the tube so that you can find the hole. Now you look for the hole. Congratulations, you've now found the hole. Now this is the most important part. The next step is to throw this tube in the back of your truck. The final step is to pull out a new tube and you've now successfully not patched the tube. Are you tired of seized wheels on pickup trucks? Well, meet the Hub Buddy. The amount of time this little buddy saves me is crazy. It basically just cleans the hub so that when you put it back on, it doesn't get seized as bad. It might still get seized, but not nearly as bad as it would have been. You can pick these up for about $45 on Amazon. Whoa, that's not supposed to be there. Not a problem. That's why they called you, isn't it? Make sure you don't hit the rim. Yeah, you don't want to break that sensor either, do you? Yeah, you're definitely going to want to take off those wheel weights or the bounce beads aren't going to work. There you go, tire doctor. Make sure you put it on the right way. Hey, that's not how you're supposed to do it. What are you doing? Shut up.
What the hell are you doing here?
Dude, that's Michael. What are you talking about, man?
No, bro, they called me. They called me.
Dude, they called me first, man. I gotta make some money too.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Please, man. Whatever. You can have the ball.
Lesson 5, to become a tire guy. The good old tire stack. Like with all things tire guys do, it's time to break your back again, and again, and again. Over and over and over until you die. Okay, so because I'm so sick of these cold ass tires and everybody on TikTok tells me how to do it, I'm gonna do it just like you guys say. So this is what TikTok tells me to do. Set them on fire. I swear, we don't make this stuff up. Our customer wanted new tires, but they had their own. And they've been sitting in the field all winter and are frozen solid and were squished like crazy. So we went to their yard, tossed these tubes in them, and said, "See you Monday, bud." What the heck is this and how did it happen? This is called bead separation. This can happen when you're driving your tire low on pressure consistently. When your air pressure in your tires are low, it means that it won't be sitting right on the rim. And the weight of the unit will actually compress this part of the rim onto the bead. And driving a tire flat is never good for the bead's mental health. And eventually it has emotional damage and it splits in two. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, your bank account will also have emotional damage. Wait a second, are you actually taking off a steer for once? Wow, it's great to know you actually know how to do your job. Yeah, well, everybody has their opinions. Tire guys just do what's best for themselves and the customer. What? I thought you didn't care about your customers. Yeah, sometimes they ask me if I show up within the hour, if I even care about them anymore. Now that's what I call a split rim. That looks like an easy fix for the tire doctor. All I had to do was hammer it right back into place. Wow, it looks better than I thought it was gonna look. It almost looks like new. Well, I guess they're good to go. So how the heck would a rim split like this? Well, there's not really a concrete answer, but from our best judgment, we assumed that it was just from wear and tear. This is a really old unit, and it's a rental, so the customers don't drive it like they own it. Holy crap, what did they do? How could this have happened? I know what's wrong with it. They put a plug in it. How to break the back bead of a truck tire when it's still on the unit. You're going to break it exactly like you break the first bead. The only difference is you have a lot less room and it's on a different angle. And to make that angle better, at the last second, you're going to flick your wrist so that your hammer gets wedged in between the bead and the rim. This takes a lot of practice and a lot of time to get good at. And just make sure that you're not practicing on aluminum rims because that would be deadly. How to not plug a tire. The first step is to take the nail or whatever the heck you got in your tire out. Next, you're going to want to ream the hole so that it's just big enough but not too big. Next, make sure that you're using a plug that's too big for the hole. Put some glue on it and then try to put a square into a circle. That's not going to work. How not to change a leaking valve stem with a sensor on it. This will only work if you've never changed one of these in your life. So first, of course, you got to take the tire off. Next, you're going to have to take this screw off. So what you're going to do is you're going to try a screwdriver and that's not going to work. Next, you're going to try to use an Allen key, but that's not going to work. So the only way to get it off is to cut it out and stick a valve stem in without a sensor. Problem solved. I guess you should have paid your bill. Looks like you don't got a tire anymore. Nah, I'm just playing. We don't do that. What I'm actually doing is I'm taking this tire so nobody can steal it. These guys told me that their Bobcat was just recently stolen, so might as well take a precaution. Whoa, slow down a little bit. You're going a little fast there. No, I can't slow down. The customer's watching. I gotta impress. I was able to change this tire in less than 5 minutes. New record. How exactly do you know it's a new record? Sometimes I time myself and see how fast I can go. I bet you some of those timers go up to an hour. Yeah, let's not talk about those. Lessons from my dad. If you're rolling something heavy off your tailgate, make sure you're staying to the left or the right of the tailgate instead of the middle. This will prevent your tailgate from becoming beveled and destroyed in the center, because there's not actually a lot of support in the middle of your tailgate. Look at that massive tire! There's no way he's breaking that bead with a hammer. Oh, pulling out the big guns I see. That's cheating. It's definitely satisfying to watch at least. Damn, that really squished the tire, didn't it? You're not actually putting sealant in that tire, are you? Yeah, I am actually, because the guy's been driving it flat for a couple days. So the bead is completely destroyed and the casing is messed up. And this guy was snow plowing all the snow that we got in Toronto. And he had to keep running to make that money. If it does go flat again, then we're gonna have to replace the tire. A lot of old skid steer rims are reverse mounts. So the only way to take the tire off is to take it off the unit, which really sucks in the winter in the snow. Instead of taking 10 minutes to change the tire, it'll take 25 minutes. But whatever gets the job done, we're gonna do it. If you wanna drive your tires flat, sealant. If you wanna damage your rim, sealant. If you want to run over a lot of nails, sealant. If your bead is ever damaged and not repairable, sealant. Yep, sometimes on a service call, you just got to get the customer going until you can get a new tire. We couldn't get a new tire till the next day, so we just tossed a bunch of plugs in so the customer can drive it for another day. It was a pretty big slice in the tire, so you couldn't patch it from the inside because otherwise water would get inside, especially when it's snowing. Winter's the best because I love the snow. So you want to work outside?
Snow.
You want to drop your tool?
Snow.
You want to repair something?
Snow.
It's a common misconception that all these bead leaks are just from dirt in between the rim and bead. Now that's not to say this could be true in some cases, but most of the time it's because they've been driving it flat. And when you drive on a flat tire, the rim puts all the pressure onto the tire bead, and it basically grinds it down to its cords. In extreme cases, this can actually cause bead separation. This can even happen on a brand new unit with brand new rims. So if you see this kind of damage on your tire bead, then it's automatically scrapped because it will not hold air unless you put a tube or you change the tire or you put sealant. Seems like this tire is way too squished to take air with a blaster. Let's try some lubrication. Still nothing. Meet this cool toy called a come-along. It's basically like a tire strap, but it's a chain. This is so strong that if I crank it all the way down, I can actually touch the rim with that orange part. The only manual labor you have to do is just to hammer the sides so that the tension is all the way around and it's even. Air chuck on the tire, blast it, and then you release it as soon as the bead seats. This is supposed to be soapy water. I don't think it's soapy water anymore. Did somebody do something? In a perfect world, a tire guy will patch every single hole that your tire gets. But over the last couple years, we've found out that this isn't a perfect world. Sometimes these tires get a hole every day. So just picture 365 patches in a tire. That doesn't make sense. Instead, what we use is sealant. Most of the time, this will patch your tires from the inside out. Unless you get too big of a hole or a big slice like I was patching today. And also, if your plugs leak, well, sealant fixes that. I love to use my expensive hydraulic bead breaker, especially when it's a 16-ply tire that would have taken forever to open up the bead to get this new valve stem in because they broke the valve stem. Although it was expensive, it's definitely paying for itself over time, because this call would have taken me 45 minutes at least, and it took me only 20 minutes. And you thought your tires were bald. Is there anything the tire doctor can't fix? Doesn't look like it. Looks like a pretty versatile tire guy to me. Whoa, looks like these tires were ready to poop. Get on the rim. There we go. This should be an interesting tire repair. Oh boy. Time to get the mobile kit out. This is a long enough truck without rolling the tire all the way up. Come on, brake, you son of a... Oh, you little piece of... My battery died. I had to use somebody else's Milwaukee. Oh, this should be fun. Halfway there. Had to use the crane to get it out. A slice in the sidewall. Oh no, looks like it needs a new tire. Why, you might ask? Because this is a 60-foot man boom, and I'm not putting a tube in a tire that's sliced in the sidewall because it's very dangerous if somebody is 60 feet in the air. If the tire blows, then it's my fault, and I'm not signing off on that. It's all about saving the business and making sure I don't get sued. Alright, it looks like it's time to roll this puppy all the way back down. 2 hours later, after getting the new tire and everything, it's good to go. Silly plug, what are you doing on the sidewall? You shouldn't be there. There was just enough room to get this tire off on the unit. I was almost upset that I would have to take the rim off, but it was a good day. But of course, taking it off is a lot easier than putting it on. But the tire was no match for the tire doctor. I lowered the rim onto the bead and flicked it right on. Notice how I'm using a spoon bar so I don't scratch the rim. Always gotta make sure you satisfy those TikTok haters. What do mobile tire guys do when they come across an aluminum rim? We jack it up and we take them off and then we load them up on our trucks, and then we take it to a tire shop and they do it on the machine. It's a lot safer and it eliminates the possibility of us hitting the rim and cracking it. You also get a much better balance when you're using this spinny machine. And after everything's said and done, we drive back to site and put them back on. Putting sealant in a tire is actually really bad for business when it comes to us tire guys. It basically stops tires from getting flat, so why would somebody need a tire guy if their tires aren't going flat? And that's why we only use sealant when it's absolutely necessary. A lot of people might say that it's because I'm lazy that I put sealant in it, but it's actually because of customer satisfaction and I want the customer to be happy with my service. So if he doesn't get a flat, then that's great service to them. Looks like a common case of bead leak to me. But let's double check to make sure there's nothing else wrong with this tire. Looks pretty good to me, no bubbles on the tread. Thank God for a compressor exhaust on these cold, cold days. Hammer that bead till it breaks. Nice. Gotta open it up for feeding time. Ooh, look at that rim, all rusty. Must have had some water inside. There you go, tire. Here's to quench your thirst. A little bit of sealant. Cheers, buddy. And don't forget that joyride you have to go on after to make sure the sealant works on the bead. Man, what a fun time that is. This tire had a lot of bad slices on the sidewall, so I had to change the tire. And if you've ever come across a tire this size that is completely a pain in the ass to get off, then it's probably a Campso brand because they are always like that. Because the sidewall and the bead are so thick that it's impossible to get off. The original Bobcat tires that come with your Bobcat with the Super Duty sidewall are also a pain. Oh no, the tire! It's scrap! Sometimes our customers don't know anything about tires, so we have to actually arrive on site and check the tire out and see if it's okay or not. And if it's scrap, then we have to go pick up a new tire. So we got this call in the morning, my brother got there and found out it was scrap. So later in the afternoon, I went to get a new tire and put it on. Thankfully, the scrap tire coming off was a Michelin, and the one going on was a Continental, so it was such a simple job. Of course, the tire and rim still weighed as much as me, so it's always going to be difficult. The way I put on the first bead always depends on the thickness of the bead as well as the ply rating, because sometimes it's impossible to get it on without doing it this way. With everything said and done, it was a pretty good moneymaker. Lesson 4. To become a tire guy. The service call. Sometimes it's easy, but other times you might have to call your contact on site and ask them for the exact location of the unit. Step 2, check for damage before you start airing it up to make sure that it's not going to blow up in your face. Step 3, look for nails or holes on the top of the tire, and if there are any, then either plug or patch depending on the size of the hole. Step 4, every nail that you pull out of the tire, make sure that you throw them back on the ground so that they'll call you tomorrow. Step 5, clean up your plug with a little snip and a little squirt to make sure that it's sealed. Step 6, rinse and repeat when you move the unit forward to make sure that there's nothing underneath the tire as well. You are now ready to do one type of service call that is the most common for a tire guy. These are low profile skid steer tires. Customers will usually buy these if they have to go underground and it has a height restriction because that 1 or 2 inches makes a huge difference. The tires coming off were also low profile, but they were bald. Of course they could have kept running this until this safety line right here, but they didn't have any traction in the winter, so it made sense to change them. Of course, there's always those customers that also run it all the way down to the rim. Sometimes they actually have to because they have to get the Bobcat as low as possible. Low profiles are more common in cities, of course, because there's more undergrounds to actually have to use them. So you probably won't see them on your average landscaping job or construction site. Have you ever seen a tire that looks flat, but then you realize that it's foam filled? How can this possibly happen? This makes no sense at all. This doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it sucks for the customer because it's so expensive to replace a foam filled tire. If all 4 tires are low, then it actually could be the manufacturer. Sometimes they cheap out on urethane, so it just goes flat over like 2 years. If only one tire's flat, like this one, then it could have actually been the previous tire guy that put it on when it was, say, raining, and when the urethane filled it, over time, it deteriorated the urethane. Or in this case, the problem with this tire was that there is a bend in the rim and water must have gotten in it. As you can see, there's actually a flat spot now because it completely destroyed the urethane from within it. So after we cut off the tire and took out the urethane, we checked it and it was completely disgusting. It was just coming off on my gloves. Normally foam fill is supposed to actually be hard and dry, so this was completely destroyed.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Well, let's rewind to the time that I defeated the tire doctor and his brother. They tried mounting me on this rim for over an hour and they could not do it. I was laughing in their face the whole time. It was hilarious. It got so bad that a concerned citizen actually asked if he could help me.
How are you, sir?
How are you?
Not too bad. Everything all right?
Yes, pain in the ass.
Yeah, I bet it is. It didn't look very much fun, so.
The tire doctor even put my rim on backwards so he could try to use leverage, but it didn't work. Oh my god, what a dumbass. He even resorted to kicking and abusing me. I didn't appreciate it. So after that, he took me for a little drive to go see his brother. Oh my god, what a family reunion that was.
Oh, yeah.
Here, listen, they were having the best time of their lives.
What the?
Yep, I really made them mad today. I love wasting tire guys' time. It's my favorite thing to do. And that, my friends, is how I ended up on this expensive tire machine. Because this monster is the only thing that'll caress me hard enough to get me on the rim. Follow my account if you like to see the tire doctor struggle, because I know I do.